Welcome to this edition of Chakmah Choter. At the conclusion of our last program, we came upon one of the most remarkable statements that you're going to find anywhere in Yahweh's witness. And it is one that absolutely and unequivocally destroys the religion of Christianity and of Judaism. It's in a book that very few people acknowledge, and yet perhaps the single most relevant prophecy to our day was found there. And it's a time that everyone should have paid attention to. It is the Sermon on the Mount. It was presented by a man that many claim was the wisest who ever lived, Solomon. It was on the occasion of the dedication of the home for Yahweh's name, known as the First Temple. It was the first audible expression of its completion after 7 years of construction. That construction came in exactly the center of Yahweh's timeline with man. It was exactly 3,000 years from the time that Adam and Chawah were escorted out of the Garden of Eden, and exactly 3,000 years to the time that Yahweh will allow us back into the Garden of Eden when he transforms the entire earth back to those conditions. Well, that's remarkable, isn't it? The cornerstone of the home for Yahweh's name, the first temple, was laid in year 6000, 968 BCE. Exactly 3,000 years from the time we're escorted out of the garden to the time that we are invited back into the garden. 1,000 years on either side of it is year 2000 and 4000 the 40th and 80th Yobel years. And in year 2000 Abraham and Yishak performed the dress rehearsal for the fulfillment of Passover on Mount Moriah, on Passover, where Yahweh was in a discussion of father and son and of the most beloved provides the lamb. And 1,000 years after, in 33 CE, Yahweh's beloved son becomes the lamb on exactly the same place on Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah, with Abraham and Yishak, to affirm they understood the conditions pursuant to the covenant. On Mount Moriah, 1,000 years later on Mount Moriah, the cornerstone, which represents David, the beloved son of God, is laid for the first temple on Mount Moriah. And then on Pesach in year 4000 33 CE, the 80th Yobel year, Dod, the firstborn of Yahweh, serves as the Passover lamb, just as he had stated. And of course, let's not miss the other father and son connection. Just as Ishak was the son of Abraham, just as Yahweh, in a conversation of father and son, said that he would provide the lamb, just as Solomon was Dod's son, and that Dod was the son of God. It was the firstborn son of God who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim, all on Mount Moriah, year 2000 3000 4000 Isn't that stunning? Doesn't that get your attention? And of course, commiserate with that cornerstone of the home for Yahweh's name being laid in year 3000 Yahweh himself wrote a song. Did you know Yahweh wrote a song? Yeah, he was a pretty good songwriter. At least I think so. It's, I think, the most beautiful song ever written. It is absolutely the most expressive love song ever written. Did you know that Yahweh wrote a love song? Did you even know that Yahweh was God's name? Do you know that the song is devoted to God's beloved Son? Did you know that God has a son? Do you know the son's name? Do you know the song? Now, if you've been with me these many years and you have read the books that are behind me, the Yada Yahowah series, and if you haven't, they're all free at yadayah.com. I would encourage you to go there. You know that the answer is the 89th Mizmor or Psalm, which is David's song, which Yahweh inspired to celebrate his father and son relationship with his chosen one, with our Messiah, with the former and returning King, with the Zeroah, sacrificial lamb, with the set apart one, with the ultimate shepherd and our Savior, the one who is returning Elyon, as if God, as brilliant as the sun and our presence. David. So what do you think the message is that on Mount Moriah, in 2000 1968 BCE, in 3000 968 BCE, and year 4000 33 CE, on Passover, and on both ends, we have a celebration of father and sons, of building and sustaining and enabling homes. The covenant relationship, the covenant family, that narrative was signed, sealed, and delivered with what occurred on Mount Moriah in year 2000 1968 BCE. The father and son. And then on year 3000 968 BCE, we have Yahweh as the Father sing this lovely song to his Son as the cornerstone for the home of the covenant family is laid on Mount Moriah, such that 1,000 years later in 33 CE, on Pesach, just as he had foretold, David serves as the Passover lamb with the firstborn, opening the door to God's home, perfecting the covenant family, and signing our adoption papers into the covenant as the Bakor on Bakorim. Do you think there's a message in that? Do you care? Israel, are you paying attention? What is it going to take to get your attention? Can God be any more direct than that? And yet, never in the 2,000-year history of rabbis has there been a single rabbi that told you any of that. Not one. Why? Are they stupid? Or they just don't give a damn because it doesn't fit their narrative. Because they don't want you to know Yahweh's name. They don't want you to know that Yahweh said, I have a son. And he proclaimed it 3 times. And that he said that Dod is my son. They don't want you to know that. Why? They don't want you to know that Dod is returning, that he is the Messiah that Yahweh anointed 3 times. They don't want you to know any of this. They don't want you to know that Dod told you explicitly exactly when he would return in year 4000 33 CE to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim, or what the benefits are of those 3 Mikre. The rabbis don't even want you to know what the 3 Mikre represent, much less for you to observe them. Why? Why have they erased Yahweh's name? Why have they misrepresented Dod's name? Why have they deprived Dod of all of these achievements, all of these accolades, and allowed another rabbi, Paul, to counterfeit him and to come up with this lame idea of a Mr. Christ, for God's sake? And you didn't even have the character, the conviction to say that's nonsense. The Messiah's Dod. It's Dowd that's the son of God. It's Dowd that said he was going to come and fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim. Right at this time, it was Dowd that wrote 1,000 years in advance of this event that he was going to be crucified on Passover by the Romans 1,000 years before it happened. Why don't they tell you any of this? Not a single rabbi has ever said any of this to you. Ever. What are you paying them for? Why are you listening to them? It's really a legitimate question, Israel. Why do you give lip service to the rabbi? Why do you put that stupid round halo on the top of your head like you're a participant in the Greek religion, worshiping the sun? Where do you find that in the Torah, huh? Where does the Torah say to put a box on your forehead? Where does the Torah say to strap a strap on your arm as if you're doing something that's pleasing to God? Where does the Torah tell you to pray? Where does the Torah tell you to bow down to God? Where does the Torah tell you to stick little notes at a rock wall and bob your head up against it? I'll tell you what the Torah says. He said that God gave up on you because you couldn't stop being obnoxious and religious. That's what the Torah tells you. And you've been religious and obnoxious towards God since the Exodus, and you haven't changed one iota. And that's the reason I'm here. That's why I'm yelling at you right now. Yeah, you need someone to yell at you. What you're doing is stupid. You're listening to people who are lying to you, who are robbing you of your soul. People who created the religion of Christianity through the rabbis that oppressed you for 1,800 years. People that created the religion of Islam that is attacking you right now. The rabbis sold Talmud readings to Muhammad to flesh out his Quran. Without them, there would be no Islam today. There'd be no Quran today. Rabbis that started rabbinic Judaism by foisting a false Messiah to cover up the truth about the real Messiah in Bar Kokhba, who gave you that goddamn star that you pretend is so holy to you when it stands for Bar Kokhba, the son of a star, because Dowd never had one. You've been played. I mean, just now, the Muslims who have a 50-point difference in IQs from you have played you like fools. You played right into their hands. And the rabbis have done the same thing to you. They have become your worst enemy. I'm going to read what Yahowah said at this extremely important moment. The dedication of the home to Yahowah's name on the place that Dowd had acquired for him in the city of Dowd, on the top of Mount Moriah, which means to revere Yah. When it was being dedicated, the moment of its completion, 7 years, of course, after that cornerstone was laid. Yahowah Almighty. Yahowah Almighty. Did you hear that? It doesn't say the Lord Almighty. It doesn't say Adonai Almighty. It doesn't say G-D Almighty. It doesn't say Hashem Almighty. How do you get off erasing Yahowah's name from his own witness? You know how deplorable that is? You know how unethical that is? You know how antagonizing that is to God? For you to erase his name, you might as well spit in his face. It says, Yahowah Almighty, do not turn away forever. Don't fail to return. What does that mean? Don't turn away forever. Don't fail to return. You think it through? And I've been hard on you now, but you need this, Israel. You've been living in a fog for well over 3,000 years. You need to hear it bluntly. What does it mean? Yahowah Almighty, do not turn away forever. Do not fail to return. What does that mean, Israel? I don't think you're capable of answering. I'll answer for you. It means that God turned away from you during the Exodus. Read Numbers 11. He said he was done with you. From that point on, he went through the motions. He had written you off. And at this point, same thing was true. During the Exodus, he would continue to speak through Moshe, but he would have no interaction with you. And thereafter, he found 20 men, a couple of women, that he would speak through, but he had no interaction with you. None. And he told the prophets at this time that there was no one, not any Jew in the entire world, not for 2,500 years could he find a single Jew who would listen to him, through whom he could speak. Not one. So what it means, don't turn away forever, is that God turned away from you because you told him to go away and never speak to you again during the Exodus. And he says, all right, I'm good with that. No problem. And then he told you that he's not coming back to you until you shub. You return to him. And you know what he did? Just to, what do they call that? Get your attention in a way that should be a little grating. Gnaw at you. He picked me to get your attention. And I don't suffer fools very well. He picked me to get your attention. How's that, Israel? Because he couldn't find any one of you. I got the job. I didn't campaign for it, didn't ask for this job. But I was chosen for this job because, you know something? I don't suffer fools very well. And I'll get something else that's different about you. As highly as you view yourself, thinking you're so damn smart, you're so damn godly, I can outthink the whole lot of you. I just figured out what was being said here. I figured out the entire picture where you haven't had a single rabbi amongst the tens of thousands of rabbis in 2,500 years that could figure out any of this. I outthought them all, single-handedly. How about that? That get your attention? I know the Torah and the prophets and understand God's message better than all of them combined. Shouldn't that be a little irritating to you? Shouldn't you wonder, why is that possible? Yeah, he turned away from you. And he's not returning to you until I can convince you to return to him. We still don't know how many that's going to be. And frankly, with Yahowah, it doesn't really matter if it's 1,000 or 7,000 or 700,000. Doesn't matter to him. Not at all. Actually, it doesn't matter to him. Yahowah would have been just fine with Adam in the garden. But he knew that Adam alone wasn't a good idea, so he gave Adam Chawah, and that was even a worse idea. But nonetheless, God's got a sense of humor, doesn't he? He made Chawah really cute, irresistible. Didn't work out very well. Yahowah would have been happy with Abraham, Sarah, and Yishak. And I'm going to tell you, while I like Sarah, Abraham was a jerk. I just call it what it is. He was a jerk. Wasn't very smart. Certainly didn't get understood. I don't think he understood 5% of what God was telling him. And he pimped Sarah out twice for sheep. No, so not a very nice man. Fact of the matter is, Yahweh's not looking for a lot. How many people did Yahweh say, okay, I've got created billions of people. I've got how many chosen ones? Yeah, one. How many people did Yahweh say, he's my son, he's my guy, I'm his dad? Yeah, billions of people. How many? One. I think Yahweh would have been just as happy as he could be just having a relationship with Dode. He's not looking for a lot of people. I mean, I think if you take the people that are already part of the covenant family, he'd be happy with that. What he is looking for is quality. And it's interesting here. I've been reading the testimony of the various people who are part of the covenant family. We opened up a Facebook group called Yada Yahowah, which means to know Yahweh. And one of the three wise men, I think it was Kevin, either Kevin and Leah or just Kevin, but came up with the idea, why don't we ask people to tell your story? This is a place to celebrate knowing Yahweh. Tell us your story. How'd you get to this place? And you know what's interesting about the cast of characters that are now as part of Yahweh's family? They're really all interesting. And you know what makes them interesting? Character. And you know why they have character? They've all failed. Every single one. Because if you haven't failed and figured out a way to get back up on your feet and make something of your life, you aren't interesting. You don't have grit. You don't have character. Character is honed through overcoming hardships. People that fail and wallow in their failure and never get over the depression or achieve any things in their life, it's a worthless life. People who are Pollyanna, everything in life has just been, rosy, and I've never been challenged. What a waste. They're not interesting. And you can't trust them because they've never been put in a difficult position. People that are interesting have character. They've all overcome challenges, all had failures, major disappointments in their lives. I'm telling you this story, Israel, because up to this point, you are a complete and utter failure. And the place that matters most, your relationship to God. You were chosen to be his people, and you haven't chosen him in return. You are complete and utter failures. And we're here to resolve that. And here's the deal. When you can shed your affinity for your religion, for your culture, for your politics, and for your military, for all of it, and do what Abraham did, and he wasn't the sharpest guy on the planet, nor the man with the best character. He walked away from all of it. Turns out Moshe, he had an absolute crash and burn. Said things that I didn't think any human being would ever say associated with Yahweh, but he did. But nonetheless, the man had some grit. He walked away from the religion, the politics, the militarism, the economic caste system of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. And when challenged, like when the horde of bandits came down on the young girls trying to water their sheep, one man stood up to them. He had some grit. And when he had a total crash and burn and failed miserably in Yahweh's presence, he failed because you guys were impossible. The Jews during the Exodus were horrible people. I mean, just despicable. There wasn't a good moment in the entire experience. It was just one total and complete disappointment and failure after another. And Moshe finally says, I can't do this anymore. You might as well kill me. These people are impossible. This job cannot be done. And God said, you're right. They're disgusting. They're appalling. I agree with you. Nonetheless, he picked himself up And he saw the job through. Grit, character. That's what you need to do. You've said things to God you should never have said. You erased his name. You've turned your back on your Messiah and your King and your Savior. You won't acknowledge anything that he has done. You've really done some despicable things. You've been religious. You plastered over the Torah with your Talmud. You have done one bad thing after another. Many of you actually define yourself by your religion as opposed to your ethnicity. You've been despicable. Now, having failed miserably as a people for now 3,450 years, do you think you can overcome it? Do you think that you can be part of those who come to love and respect Yahweh, embrace his name, his son's contribution to your life, understand the conditions of the covenant and accept them, attend the Moed Mikre, all of them as they were intended? Do you think you can shub? Come back to him? Overcome all the failures of your people? And then go one step further after you have done that and you've enjoyed the company of Yahweh and you've come to learn about him, read these books, listen to these programs, make a difference in other Yehudim lives, join us, become part of a chorus of Yehudim for Yisrael. Listen, I'm here to tell you that, again, if there are 700, 7,000, or 70,000 that are part of the Shabuah harvest, all that really matters to God is the character of the people, the attitude of the people, the aptitude of the people that are part of it. He doesn't want to spend his eternity with jerks. He doesn't want to be around the religious, the political, the militant for eternity. And so he's just looking for a few good men and women. Want to be part of it? That's what this is all about. And I should tell you, Yahweh reached out to me to ask me to do this for you on a Towrah in 2001. It's the day of the herald. He would announce my presence as the herald in the Torah. And he would devote this speech that Solomon gave to introducing the Nakri, the observant foreigner, as Yada, which is the name that I chose long before I knew that Yahweh had chosen it for me. Means to know. Do you know what day this speech was given? About introducing the observant foreigner who is serving as your herald? Towrah. First day of the 7th month. Do you know the day that the herald offers his life to save, purify, perfect the mortal remnant of Yisrael so that you have a chance to spend your eternity with Yahweh? It's Towrah. Do you know that Towrah is the day that Yahweh chose and that you have renamed it Rosh Hashanah in Babylonian fashion? Boo. Do you know what happens 10 days after Towrah? Oh, you would say it's Yom Kippur, the day of atonement and affliction. Nope. Not the day for twirling chickens over your head there, big boy. It's Yom Kippurim, plural. It's a reconciliation of Yisrael to Yehudah and then to Yahweh and to Dod. It is the day Yahweh returns with his beloved son Dod, whom you are going to cry over because you pierced him, crucified him. It wasn't you that did it, but because you didn't recognize that he was being crucified as the Passover lamb for you, as he had promised, you pierced his heart. And you pierced God's too. So let's get right to it. This says, Yahweh Almighty, do not turn away forever or fail to return. Fail to return. That means that Yahweh's been here. Oh, I know that. You can't have a God that's been here in Rabbinic Judaism. You can't have a son of God either. Rabbi Maimonides told you so. Well, Maimonides is also the guy that gave you this idiotic calendar based upon the sanctification of the moon and the number 19, with absolutely no correlation whatsoever to the Torah. And he's off by almost 250 years. God says he has a son 3 times. So you want to believe Maimonides, you want to believe Yahweh. Yahweh says, I've been here before and I'm coming back. You want to believe Maimonides, you want to believe Yahweh. He says God is incorporeal. That's not what God says. Now, this notion in Christianity that God's a man, I mean, that's stupid. All of God won't fit into our universe, much less into a man. God's certainly not a man. That myth of Jesus is just absolutely mind-boggling stupid. Made up by Paul, a rabbi in 52 CE. But the fact is that God created the energy that has comprised our universe, and energy is converted into matter according to E = mc squared. And God can use any form of matter that he wishes, and he can project his nefesh soul or his ruach spirit into anything that he wishes, from fire to a cloud to he can create a physical body if he wishes to and put his nefesh soul or his ruach spirit into it. We're still 99.999999999% of Yahweh is still in the 7th dimension in Shamayim, but he can project himself this way to us. Therefore, his soul is in a corporeal entity. I'm sorry that I'm smarter than Maimonides, but I don't want to bust anybody's bubble unless it is to ransack the stupidity of the man who wrote the 13 principles of Judaism, because all 13 are wrong. No, it's not so bad, huh? But he and the guy that told you he had 613 mitzvah in the Torah, and that was the equivalent of the number of seeds in a pomegranate and the number of bones in the human body. No. And no. He got everything wrong. Just like Akiba before him. He is the guy that began Rabbinic Judaism with a false Messiah. Brought Hadrian back to Jerusalem. He's the guy that brought you the curse of Palestine. He's the guy that made you susceptible to the Holocaust. He's the guy that plastered over the real Messiah and the Son of God and your Savior with a fake. And yet he's the father of Rabbinic Judaism. Boy, you got to be really smart, Jews, to continue to give lip service to Judaism under those circumstances, don't you? I'm trying to get your attention here. That means that Yahweh's going to return. You know, he told you when he was going to return. Yom Kippur, the day of reconciliations, the day he's coming back with Dod, his beloved son. Question is, will you be there? I'm going to be there. Whole covenant family is going to be there. Everybody that participates in the Shabuah and the Towrah harvest is going to be there. Everyone who benefits from the sacrifice of the red heifer is going to be there. Will you be among them? Will you survive the time of Jacob's troubles, which begins in 12 months? Yahweh Almighty, do not turn away forever, nor fail to return. Al Shub. do not continuously abandon or fail to restore, along with the appearance and the presence of your Messiah, your Mashiach. Whoa! So we have your Mashiach going to return with Yahweh? Well, if Yahweh's Mashiach is going to return with Yahweh, wouldn't you think you'd look to say, who is Yahweh's Mashiach? And I think that rabbinical Judaism has, many messiahs. Could be any one of a number of messiahs. Who did Yahweh call his Mashiach that he anointed not once, not twice, not 3 times? 3 times. Because, of course, he lived 3 lives. Who did Yahweh say, I'm anointing my Mashiach with my oil? Who does Yahweh say, he is my Mashiach? Who would that person be? Oh, it's Dode. Who did Yahweh says, when he returns, he's going to be as brilliant as the sun in my presence? Yeah. Dode. So who's returning with Yahweh? Dode. Who is the Messiah that Yahweh is returning with? A Dode. So why are you looking for a nameless Messiah? Why don't you recognize that Dode is your Messiah? Now, think this through now. You know that Eliah has been here and that Eliah is returning, right? You read it in the last of the prophets, Malachi, in the last chapter. No, you have no problem with that. You set a table for him at Pesach, like he's going to be there for a religious gathering, not knowing that he was the prophet that was the most effective at excoriating religion and politics amongst Israelites. That was his job, condemning and actually killing all who promoted religion and politics in Israel. Might want to have thought that one through. He is not the right guy to bring to a rabbinical dinner. Unless you want the entire group exterminated. Guys are not thinking your religion through here, are you? All right, so Yahweh took Eliah and he's bringing him back. So where do you think Eliah's been all this time? Heaven? Oh, okay, good answer. So when Yahweh says that I'm coming back with your Messiah, where do you think Dode's been all this time? There you go, heaven. Now, if Yahweh is able to bring Eliah back like that, and he's bringing, obviously, your Messiah, Dode, back like that, is God capable of bringing somebody back like that? Think it through. Yes. Now, if God's capable of bringing these 2 people back a second time, what would you think would preclude God from bringing one of them back, or even both of them back 3 times? Oh, 2 max number for you. You're cut off at 2. Can't do 3? No. Going to put a limit on absolute limit on God. 2 lives maximum per person. Are you out of your minds? Dode said he was going to be here in 33C. He gave you the exact date, right in the middle of Chakmah, 700 years in advance. Who do you think it was that is the man that was speaking to Daniel named Gabriel? You know who a Gabor El is? It's compassionate, courageous, and capable man of God. Who is God's Gabor? Well, it turns out he's got 2 of them. Dode and the fellow talking to you. So he tells you exactly the time that he's going to come back in his second life. Yahweh tells you the day he's going to come back in his third life. And he tells you in the 22nd Mizmor, Dode does, 1,000 years in advance, that he's going to be crucified as the Passover lamb, describing how crucifixion actually robs a person of their life, gives you a description of what it does to the body. 700 years before crucifixion even existed. And you're going to say he didn't have a body? Is that what you're going with? That God couldn't create a body that he could place the nephesh soul of his beloved son Dod in? Do you know why Paul came up with the myth of Jesus Christ being a Messiah and a son of God and had him crucified on Passover? Because the Son of God, your Messiah, was crucified on Passover. That's why. And you missed it. And you still don't get it. You know the reason that I wrote Twistianity 5 volumes for you? It wasn't to free Christians from Christianity. There is no amount of evidence and reason, even directly from God, that is capable of convincing them that their Jesus is an absolute myth, that he's a crude counterfeit of Dod mixed in with a heavy dose of Dionysus, and that there is absolutely no historical reference to him whatsoever, and that he was a complete fake. That's all true. Easily proven in those 5 volumes. I didn't do it for them. I did it for you. I did what the rabbis should have done, so that the myth of Christianity is nipped in the bud, so you can see the truth that was hidden under their pile of rubbish, which is, guess what? Paul didn't come up with the idea of a Messiah fulfilling Passover, being crucified on Passover in year 4000 Yah as the Son of God out of thin air. Because it was Dod, David. They told you he was going to be crucified as the Passover lamb on Passover in year 4000 Yah, 33 CE. And it was Yahweh that told you that he was the Son of God. You missed it. And not a single rabbi has acknowledged it. Not one ever. And it's the single most important truth. It's even a more important truth, I think, than recognizing how to pronounce Yahweh's name and the importance of Yahweh's name. It is to Yahweh. Fathers have that kind of relationship with their sons. Yahweh Almighty, do not turn away forever or fail to return along with the appearance of your Messiah. I want you to choose to remember and to emphatically memorialize. It is my desire for you to elect to a mention the most memorable of men. Your steadfast devotion, your unwavering love, your genuine kindness, your enduring affection, your unfailing favoritism for Dod. For Dod. For Dod. Let me give you a little clue. What did Yahweh call you? What is when you call yourself Jews? Where's that from? What did you corrupt to get Jew? Yahud. 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 Dod. Yah. Dod. Put it together, folks. You are named after Yahweh and Dod. Yahud. What does it mean? Yahweh's beloved. Who are you to remember as the most memorable of men that God was steadfastly devoted to, loved beyond everyone else, who he was genuinely affectionate and who he favored more than all others? Who is the Messiah? Dod. He just told you it's Dod. Do you understand the importance of that? Dod is your Messiah. Dod is the one returning with Yahweh. Do you get it? You're named after Yahweh and Dod. Do you have any understanding of the importance of this? This follows on Towrah, a presentation of the Nakri, where Yahweh inspired Solomon to tell you that when he appears and you hear his voice coming out of the heavens through this YAHOWah blog, live stream to you via satellite, that you need to listen and you need to respond. You need to do everything that I ask of you for the benefit of this relationship. And then he tells you that he is returning, and that is because he has left you. And he's going to return to you when you return to him, and that is the Nakri's job, is to convince the best of you to return. And then he tells you that your Messiah is Dod, that he's coming back with Dod, and that YAHOWAH is his name, and that his Dod is his beloved. And also, he says, Dod, your co-worker and associate. What do you think he did with Dod that made Dod his co-worker? Can you think that through? He doesn't call every prophet that he spoke through a co-worker. He does use the term with Moshe because Moshe was a unique prophet and he mostly spoke about things that happened in the past and the instruction that God was giving in the present. Dod fulfilled what YAHOWAH revealed through Moshe. He's the living embodiment of the Torah. He's the living embodiment of Yisrael. He is the living embodiment of the Bereth covenant. He is the one who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim so that you might find an open doorway to God's home, so that you might become immortal, so that you would be perfected, all of your guilt hauled away into Sheol, deposited there, never to be seen again on that day that you don't even celebrate, Matzah. So that the Bakor, the firstborn of YAHOWAH, could sign your adoption papers and on Bikurim, firstborn children, into the covenant family where God could enrich and empower you. That's how they worked together.
Way better than twirling chickens.
Well, just slightly better than twirling chickens. Debadim ha-yomem, words of the day, 2 Chronicles 6:42. What does this mean to you? Besides the fact that waiting for a nameless Messiah is a bunch of garbage, religious muck. You need to shut the rabbis up, all of them. The Messiah has a name, it's Dod. Beyond the fact that YAHOWAH has a name, what does this mean to you? Yes, that you're guilty of having erased it and having removed it from your life. That you don't even know that your name is based upon YAHOWAH's name and Dod. That you don't know that YAHOWAH is coming back after a long separation. And he says, I'm not coming back until you shub. I will shub when you shub, or no shub for you. So you know now the Messiah is Dod. You know that YAHOWAH is God. You know that they are both estranged from you, but they're both going to return to you. And you know they're coming back together. And you know that YAHOWAH did his best work through Dod and loves Dod most of all. Now that's enough to transform your life forevermore. But what else did you learn here? What else did you learn here?
No need for chickens?
You think maybe, just maybe, that experience that YAHOWAH and Dod had, that father and son chat, perhaps most important prophecy in the king's life, it's recorded in 2 Samuel 7, delivered by a man whose name was Gift, the greatest gift ever given to a son from a father, was when YAHOWAH explained that Dod was coming back and that YAHOWAH had made an eternal throne for him. And when they spoke about who builds houses and who lives in houses and how much he loves his beloved son, Dod, that prophecy that Nathan, the gift, delivered from Yahowah to Dode. Do you think that just maybe Dad talked to his son about it and helped his son understand what I'm just telling you, which is why this line appears here? Because Dode knew exactly what was going to happen, and he told Solomon. Solomon told you, and I've explained it all to you. It's pretty extraordinary, isn't it? I think it's life-changing. I think it's one of the most important lessons you could possibly learn. And here we are. I haven't advanced one line beyond where we were at the end of the program last time. And I'm going to end this program right here because I've given you lots to think about. And I want you to think about it. I want you to do what I've had to do in my life. What looks like every single person who has provided their testimony on the Yada Yahowah group on Facebook has done. I want you to overcome failures. And with the Jewish people, the Yahud, it's 3,450 years of failure, all the way from the Exodus to now. I want you to overcome that, to drop it all. Come clean. Walk away. Disassociate yourself from the rabbis, from Judaism, from patriotism, from your political party, from customs. Embrace Yahweh by name. Embrace his son, your Messiah, your King, your Savior. Accept the 5 conditions of the covenant, which begin by walking away from Babel, from the integration of truth and lies, which is the very definition of Judaism, from this integration of religion and politics, once again, Judaism. Walk away from the Babylonian Talmud, from Babel. And once you've walked away from that, then walk to God and allow him to make you perfect. You do that by celebrating the day that you don't even know diddly squat about. Most important day is not Passover. Passover is just the first day of Chakmah. Most important day is matzah. That's when you walk through that open door of Passover. If you look at the first Passover, you didn't go anywhere. It's not the doorway to freedom, the doorway to life. You lived through the night. It was the next day on matzah that you were separated from the appalling nature of Mitzrayim, religion and politics and caste economic systems. Liberated unto God, liberated of all of that religious crud, that muck. That's what matzah is about. It's the most important day. It's the essential day. It's the Kodesh day, the set apart day. It's the chag. It's the celebratory day. It's all about matzah. That's the second condition of the covenant. Walk to God and allow him to perfect you. It happens on matzah. And then he says, trust and rely on Yahweh. You can't do that until you know who he is. Accept his name. You can't do that until you know what he is offering to you and asking in return. You can't do that until you actually understand the conditions of the covenant and how the benefits are delivered through the mikra, these invitations to be called out and meet with God, and how they were fulfilled, when they were fulfilled, and where you are on God's timeline. So you can trust and rely upon him. He's not asking you for faith. He doesn't want you to believe. He has zero interest in religion. In fact, the entire second statement that he etched in stone is, don't be religious. Fathers corrupt their sons to the 3rd and 4th generation because they're religious. Don't you even be anywhere near that rubbish. And then he tells you all about the 4th condition of the covenant, which is closely examine and carefully consider the terms and conditions of the covenant, because in that second statement, after telling you to don't be religious, He says there will be thousands who will receive the benefits of this covenant relationship by being observant, closely examining, carefully considering these terms and conditions that I'm sharing with you right now. That's the fourth condition. Of course, the fifth is something that most Jewish men have already done, which is to be circumcised. And to circumcise your children on the 8th day going forward as a sign of the covenant. But you need to know why God asked you to be circumcised. What is it about karat? Cutting a bit of the male anatomy off that is at the focal point of the conception of new life, of conceiving a family. Isn't the covenant that family? Isn't the covenant a family that is set apart? You understand the connection? It's not a sign of Judaism to be circumcised. It's a sign of the covenant, and the covenant is God's family, and Dod is the firstborn son of that family. And he is offering through Bikurim the third day that he fulfilled in year 4000 Yah 33 CE, so that you could be part of that family. And then we have the final two benefits of the covenant, which is you're enriched and empowered by God as a result. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to accept. And you are amongst a group of people that have been obstinate and stiff-necked and hard-headed for a very, very long time, with all of you spitting in God's face. And it needs to stop. And you need to change. And the time to shub is now. I thank you for listening to this edition of the YAHOWAH blog. I am the Nakri, Craig Winn.